All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dive in.
Well, today we're going deep into the world of Peruvian coffee.
Sounds delicious already.
We've got a whole stack of articles here all about, well, the history and the culture, and even some, like, off-the-beaten-path kind of coffee experiences in Peru.
I'm intrigued.
And get this, Peru is actually one of the top 10 coffee producers in the whole world.
Really? Wow. I have to admit, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. So it's like people know Peru for Machu Picchu and the Incas and all that, but there's this whole other side to the country just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, a whole world of coffee culture, huh?
Exactly.
More than just a cup of joe, I bet.
Oh, way more, way more. Okay, so let's dive right in. Coffee first arrived in Peru way back in the 18th century, brought over by, well, Europeans, of course.
Figures.
But over the centuries, it's become so much more than just an import. It's like totally woven itself into the fabric of Peruvian society.
Yeah, I can see that it's like how tea is in England or something.
Right, totally. And speaking of connections, the articles highlight how, like, Peru's diverse geography plays a huge role in shaping all the unique flavors of their coffee.
That makes sense. Different regions, different climates, all that.
Exactly. So, for example, they talk about Cusco, where Machu Picchu is.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And they say the coffee from there has these, like, delicate floral and fruity notes.
Interesting. Like, how does that work? Is it the soil or something?
Yeah, it's like a combination of things, right?
Yeah.
The soil, the altitude, the climate, even the way they process the beans. It all comes together to create these unique flavor profiles.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then there's Chanchamayo, which they call the coffee capital of Peru.
Okay, so what's special about Chanchamayo coffee?
Well, the coffee from this region is known for being super bold, rich, and full-bodied, often with notes of dark chocolate and roasted nuts.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, you a dark roast person.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Give me a good, strong espresso any day.
Gotcha. And what about people who, like, prefer something a little brighter, more vibrant?
Oh, there's something for them, too, right?
Absolutely. They say Cajamarca is the place to go for that.
Right.
High altitudes and cool temperatures there result in coffees that are bright and citrusy.
Oh, wow.
With a lingering sweetness.
That sounds refreshing.
Doesn't it? Like perfect for a summer afternoon, maybe.
Hey, totally. I can see it now.
And then we've got San Martin, which has been quietly producing some exceptional coffees. They describe them as earthy and full-bodied with a hint of spice.
Huh. So, like, kind of complex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lots of layers of flavor there.
Fascinating how one country can have so much variety, huh?
Isn't it? And that's just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
The articles also talk about these really intriguing hidden gems for coffee lovers, like places that are a bit off the beaten path.
Oh, like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so there's Villarrica, considered the birthplace of Peruvian coffee. And you can actually tour family-owned farms there, witness traditional processing methods. And then, picture this, you're sipping a freshly brewed cup right next to a cascading waterfall.
Wow, now that's an experience.
I know, right?
Right.
Like straight out of a coffee lover's dream.
So it's not just about the coffee itself, but like the whole environment, the experience.
It's the whole package, yeah. And the aroma of those freshly roasted beans in the air, amazing.
Okay, so what other hidden gems did they mention?
Well, there's Quillabamba, which is nestled in the Sacred Valley, not too far from Cusco. Imagine lush jungles, cascading waterfalls, and the freshest organic coffee.
Sounds like delight.
Right. And you can go on guided hikes through the plantations, meet the farmers,
Yeah.
even participate in roasting workshops.
Wow, so you can really get hands-on.
Oh, yeah, totally immersive experience.
That's amazing. Any other regions that we should keep an eye on?
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking for a region that's like making waves internationally, Jaén in northern Peru is the one to watch.
What's so special about Jane?
Their beans are winning awards for their quality and unique flavors. It's a region on the rise.
So like up and coming, lots of potential.
Exactly, yeah.
I love that, discovering those hidden gems before they become mainstream.
Me too, it's exciting. But one thing that seems to connect all these different regions is this shared commitment to sustainability.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sustainability is huge these days, especially in the coffee world.
Right. Peru is a real leader in that, like organic farming, shade-grown practices, water conservation.
Mm.
It's all deeply ingrained in their coffee culture.
That's great to hear. And they're big on fair trade too, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Organizations like Seat Kavasa are really important there. They empower small-scale farmers and make
Yeah.
sure they get a fair price for their beans.
It's a win-win. Helps the farmers and protects the environment.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
great to see an industry so dedicated to doing good. And speaking of doing good, the articles highlighted how important women are in Peruvian coffee.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, women are involved in every step of the way, from taking care of the plants to harvesting the beans, sorting them for quality control, even running their own businesses.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're breaking down barriers and really contributing to the growth of the industry.
That's fantastic. Any specific examples that stood out?
Yeah, there's this initiative called Cafe Femenino that I thought was really cool.
Cafe Femenino. Okay, I've heard of that, but tell me more.
It's a global collective that supports women coffee growers all around the world.
So by choosing their coffee, you're not only getting a great cup, but you're supporting these women.
Exactly. And you're helping to make sure their voices are heard in the coffee world.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really making a difference.
Totally. And it's a reminder that every cup of coffee has a story, a human story behind it.
That's a good point. We've been talking about farms and regions, but it all comes down to the people, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about the farms and regions and sustainable practices, but what about the actual experience of coffee in Peru? Like, how do people experience coffee in their everyday lives there?
Oh, yeah, good question. I'm curious about that too. It can't all be fancy cafes and waterfalls.
Right, right. Well, they talk about these vibrant cities like Lima and Arequipa and how there are these artisanal cafes practically everywhere.
Okay, so these aren't just your average Starbucks, right?
Not even close. These are places where they're constantly experimenting, pushing the boundaries, creating unique coffee experiences.
Sounds intriguing. Do they use local ingredients like we talked about before?
Oh, yeah, all the time. They're incorporating traditional flavors and techniques into their creations.
So give me an example. What kind of crazy coffee concoctions are we talking about here?
Well, imagine, a cold brew infused with camu camu, that tangy fruit from the Amazon rainforest.
Wow, okay.
Or maybe a latte flavored with lucuma, this Peruvian fruit with a, maple-like sweetness.
Never even heard of those fruits before. That's cool.
Yeah, I know, right? And I remember reading about coffee infused with native herbs, too, like muña or even coca leaves.
Coca leaves, really? I mean, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's all about, tapping into the history and traditions of the region.
I can see that, blending the old with the new.
Exactly.
Right.
And the cafes themselves, they're often designed to be these little cultural hubs.
So you can enjoy your coffee and soak up some local art and culture at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You might find a cafe showcasing local artists, hosting live music.
That sounds awesome.
Even workshops on traditional crafts.
Wow, so it's like a whole sensory experience, not just about the coffee itself.
Totally, totally. So for someone planning a trip to Peru who wants to, really experience this coffee culture, what advice would you give them?
Well, first off, I'd say don't just stick to the tourist traps,
Yeah, get off the beaten path.
Exactly. Explore those hidden gems we talked about. Visit the farms, connect with the farmers, see how it's all done.
Get that authentic experience.
Right. And when you're in the cities, definitely check out those artisanal cafes.
And don't be afraid to try something new.
Yeah, be adventurous. And ask the baristas for recommendations. They're usually super passionate about their coffee.
They're the experts for sure.
Plus, if you're lucky enough to be there in October, you can experience Dia del Café firsthand.
Dia del Café, what's that?
It's coffee day in Peru. They have parades, dances, tastings, competitions, the whole shebang.
Wow, sounds like a party.
Oh, it is. It's a big celebration of everything coffee represents in Peru.
I can imagine. That's pretty cool. But even if we can't all just hop on a plane to Peru right now,
I wish.
there's still ways to experience that Peruvian coffee magic, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. More and more specialty coffee shops are carrying Peruvian beans these days.
Okay, so what should we be looking for?
Look for single origin coffees from specific regions like Cajamarca or Cusco or Tunchmayo.
So you can really taste the difference.
Exactly. And you can also find blends that combine different regions, showcasing the diversity of Peruvian coffee.
All right, nice. That's cool. And supporting fair trade is always a good idea, right?
Absolutely. Always a good idea. Look for those certifications. Fair trade, organic, bird-friendly.
Right, right.
Those ensure that the coffee's been ethically sourced and that the farmers are getting a fair deal.
So it's like a better cup of coffee all around.
Exactly. Better for the farmers, better for the environment, better for your taste buds.
Love it. So next time you're brewing a cup,
Yeah.
just take a moment to think about those beans, the journey they've been on.
Yeah, think about the farmers, the land, the traditions, all that's packed into that one little cup.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. It really is. And, before we move on, I want to touch on one more thing about Peruvian coffee. Something I found really interesting, these unique coffee rituals and traditions in different communities.
Or like what?
Well, it's amazing how coffee's become so woven into the fabric of Peruvian society. And each region, each community has its own special way of celebrating and enjoying it.
I can imagine, yeah.
For example, I read about a tradition in the Yanisa communities of Oxapampa. They brew coffee with ash.
Ash? Really?
Yeah, they use the ash from certain trees called ushpa to mellow the acidity of the coffee.
Huh. So it makes it smoother.
Exactly, more balanced. It's a tradition passed down through generations.
That's pretty cool.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this tradition in Cajamarca of adding cañazo to coffee.
Cañazo. What is that?
It's sugarcane liquor.
Oh, like a rum.
Yeah, similar. And adding a splash to your coffee is a popular way to warm up on those chilly highland evenings.
Sounds like my kind of coffee.
Right. And it's a tradition that goes back to the Spanish colonial period.
Wow, so it's been around for a while.
It has, and it's still going strong today.
It's amazing how these traditions blend history, culture, and a love for coffee all into one cup.
Isn't it? It really shows how coffee is so much more than just a caffeine fix.
Yeah, it's social, it's comforting, it's a way to connect.
Exactly. And these traditions are just a tiny glimpse into the richness of Peruvian coffee culture.
There's so much more to explore. I can't wait to dive deeper.
Me too. There are countless stories waiting to be told, flavors to be savored, communities to connect with.
It's a journey worth taking for any coffee lover, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So we've been talking about these super cool artisanal cafes in Lima and Arequipa.
Oh, yeah.
And they sound like so much more than just your average coffee shop.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's like they've taken the whole cafe culture to another level, really.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned that they use all these local ingredients, like incorporating traditional Peruvian flavors into their drinks, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's all about showcasing the unique flavors of Peru,
Right. What were some of the most interesting combos you came across in the articles?
Ooh, let's see. Well, how about a cold brew infused with camu camu?
Camu.
Yeah, it's this super tangy fruit from the Amazon rainforest, and it's packed with antioxidants too.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty healthy.
It is. Or maybe a latte flavored with lucuma.
Lucuma, okay, another one I haven't heard of.
It's this Peruvian fruit with a kind of unique sweetness. Some people say it tastes like maple syrup.
That's interesting. I had to try that.
You should. It's pretty delicious. And then there were some cafes using native herbs, too, in their coffee.
Really? Like what kind of herbs?
Well, there's murnia. It grows high up in the Andes. It's got this minty, refreshing aroma that adds a nice twist to a regular cup of coffee.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And I remember reading about coca leaves, too, right?
Mm-hmm, yep. Some cafes use those as well. It's definitely a unique Peruvian experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty different. So it's like they're really trying to blend the old and the new.
Yeah, exactly. Taking those traditional ingredients and incorporating them into a modern coffee scene.
I love that. And the cafes themselves, what are they like?
Well, they're often designed to feel like a real extension of Peruvian culture,
Oh, okay.
You might find a cafe that's also an art gallery showcasing work from local artists.
Wow.
Or one that hosts live music featuring traditional Andean instruments.
Wow.
Some even offer workshops on traditional crafts and stuff. It's a really immersive experience.
That sounds amazing. So for someone who's going to Peru and wants to, really get into the coffee scene, what advice would you give them?
Well, I'd say, first off, don't be afraid to venture off the beaten path a little bit,
Yeah, explore those hidden gems we were talking about.
Exactly. Go visit the farms, meet the farmers, see how the coffee is grown and processed.
Get the real deal.
Right. And then when you're in the cities, definitely make time for those artisanal cafes.
Try something new.
Yeah, be adventurous, ask the baristas what they recommend. They're usually happy to chat about their coffee.
They're the experts, right?
For sure. And hey, if you happen to be there in October, you can't miss Dia del Café.
Dia del Café.
Yeah, it's coffee day in Peru. It's a huge celebration, parades, dances, tastings, competitions, all that.
Wow, sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it is. It's a real testament to how much they love their coffee in Peru.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But for those of us who, can't just jet off to Peru right now.
Right, I know.
Are there ways we can still experience like that Peruvian coffee magic at home?
Absolutely, absolutely. Peruvian coffee is becoming more and more available around the world. A lot of specialty coffee shops are carrying Peruvian beans these days.
Okay, so what should we be looking for?
Well, you can look for single origin coffees from specific regions like Cajamarca, Cusco, or Chanchamayo.
Right, so you can really taste the differences.
Exactly. Or you can find blends that combine beans from different regions, kind of showcasing the diversity of Peruvian coffee.
Oh, that's cool. And fair trade is always something to look for, right?
Oh, for sure, always. Look for those certifications, fair trade, organic, bird-friendly. That way, the coffee's been ethically sourced and that the farmers are being treated fairly.
It just makes it a better cup of coffee all around, doesn't it?
It really does. Better for everyone involved. So next time you're making a cup of coffee, just take a second to think about those beans, the journey they've been on.
Yeah, like where they came from, who grew them.
Exactly. It's a whole story, a connection to another place and culture.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the future of Peruvian coffee. What are some of the challenges and opportunities facing the industry?
Wow. Yeah. We have covered a lot of ground, haven't we? It's been quite a journey through the world of Peruvian coffee.
It has, from the history to the flavors, the sustainability, all those unique traditions.
Right, exactly. It's just amazing to me how much there is to discover about, something as simple as coffee.
It is, and I think that's one of the biggest takeaways for me, like how much depth there is to this whole world.
Yeah, definitely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what do you think are like the key things for our listeners to remember?
Well, first of all, I hope they've gotten a real sense of just how diverse Peruvian coffee is.
Yeah, so many different regions and flavors.
Exactly. From those delicate floral coffees of Cusco to the rich chocolatey ones from Chanchamayo. There's really something for everyone, no matter what your taste is.
And beyond just the variety of flavors, I think it's so important to remember the sustainability and the ethical sourcing aspects too.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Peru is really setting a great example for the rest of the world in that regard.
Yeah, and it's something we can all actively support by choosing Peruvian coffee. Right?
Absolutely. It's a win-win. You get to enjoy delicious coffee, and you're helping to protect the environment and support the farmers.
Totally. And for me, one of the most powerful things I've learned from this deep dive is that there's a human story behind every cup.
Oh, I totally agree. It's easy to forget that sometimes, But those beans have been touched by so many hands. From the farmers who cultivate them, to the roasters who transform them, and then the baristas who brew them.
Right, and it's all driven by this passion and dedication to their craft. It's really inspiring.
It is. It's a real labor of love, and it reminds us that coffee is more than just a drink.
Yeah, it's like a connector, a bridge between cultures and community.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, I would just encourage everyone to, embrace that sense of curiosity.
Yeah, keep exploring, keep learning.
Right. And embark on your own coffee adventures.
So for someone who wants to, really delve deeper into the world of Peruvian coffee, what would you suggest?
Well, first off, be adventurous. Try different roasts. Experiment with different brewing methods.
Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. Seek out those single origin coffees from specific Peruvian regions. See if you can taste the difference.
Talk to your local coffee shops, ask questions, learn from the people who really know their stuff.
They're a great resource. And of course, if you ever have the chance to visit Peru, I highly recommend it.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
It's the ultimate way to immerse yourself in the culture, to see the farms, meet the people, and experience it all firsthand.
Well said. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our Peruvian coffee deep dive.
It's been a pleasure exploring this world with you.
Likewise. But remember, the journey doesn't have to end here.
Keep exploring, keep tasting, keep discovering all the amazing things the coffee world has to offer.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, everyone, happy brewing.